So is there farming in your blood?
There is, yeah. I don't know when I will get my own farm that's bigger than an acre, but that's why we started this project in part, is that, you know, our family roots are back on farms in Iowa. And there's a funny disconnect where Ian and I knew nothing about farming growing up, but wanted to learn more about it. Somehow, you know, it was a part of us, whether or not we knew it.
Did you learn anything new about farmers?
I learned a lot about farming. I mean, the most remarkable thing to me was, you know, I grew up playing with a little Fisher-Price farm toy set that's actually right over there. And that toy, you know, depicted the great American family farm. It was a couple cows and these swinging barn doors and a farmer and his wife. And the reality is that that picture of the typical American family farm has changed fundamentally. There was very little work involved in growing the acre of corn that we grew in King Corn. It probably took about 2 hours all year to raise 10,000 pounds of food. And most of the work we actually did do was related to signing up for subsidies, monitoring grain prices, learning how to work this commodity system for all it was worth. And that was a real disappointment and a real surprise to us.
You thought you were going to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of Ian sent him a pair of work gloves at the beginning of the year and said, you know, I'm so jealous of you going out to Iowa to dig around in the farm. But we never dug in the dirt once. That's a sign of how industrialized the system has become. And there are all kinds of efficiencies that have been made possible, and many of those are to be celebrated. But the reality is, farming is not as we imagine it to be anymore.
It's been a while. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Come on in. Well, how are things going for you guys? How did your crop come out then?
Well, we haven't harvested it yet, so we don't know how much
What the yield is.
and stuff. But from as far as I can tell, it looks like everybody else's corn. So
Yeah, it's standing up.
it's standing up, and it's kind of yellow and hard. And I think our problem is figuring out what we want to do with it once we harvest it, because we've been out figuring out where it could go, and none of our options seem particularly attractive. And I'm not terribly impressed with.
And you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Should be impressed at the stupidity. We aren't growing quality. We're growing crap. Poorest quality crap the world's ever seen. We're growing it today.
Farmers now have a very diverse role in our society. They're growing our gasoline, they're growing our fiber. You know, corn becomes the glue in cardboard boxes. It's not just food anymore that farmers are responsible for. But I do think that's the first thing we look to our farmers for. And I would hope that it's the first priority we have as a culture, is making sure that we're getting the fundamentals right. And I can't think of anything more fundamental than the food we eat. We're really all in this together. People who haven't seen the film sometimes imagine that we blame farmers for what's going on in our food system, but it's really quite the opposite. I mean, the people we most identify with in this story are the farmers, because they're the ones who, like consumers, keep bumping into this big wall that separates us from where our food is coming from. And farmers, more than anyone, want to be growing real food. And I think that old sense of pride at feeding the world is something we have to recapture, but in a way that doesn't just feed the world high fructose corn syrup. What I don't want to see happen with the food system is these smaller solutions like farmers markets and CSAs and organics. I don't want to see those be the only way out. You know, by buying 5% of your food dollars at a farmer's market, you feel good. But that does not solve the big problem, which is where are you spending the other 95%. So to me, the kind of solutions that we need are really pretty dramatic. But the only way to go about making them is to work on every scale. I mean, we have to, as consumers, begin creating a market for products that we know are not only good, but good for us. As policymakers, we have to start changing the farm legislation and bring a terribly out-of-date bill up to date. And as processors, we have to start taking some responsibility for the fact that we're feeding Americans products that they may demand, but if we made another product available at an affordable price that was healthier for us, then that would sell too. And lastly, as farmers, there's a real opportunity to start growing food again. And I hope with ethanol creating some new wealth in the Corn Belt, there's a chance for farmers to okay, grow some agri-fuel, but also concentrate again on what it is like to grow real food.